Note to learner: this video provides content that will be hosted on the Ginnie Mae LMS in the near future. In this video, you will not be able to interact with screen content to include selecting pop-ups, launching resource hyperlinks, and answering knowledge check questions. Nonetheless, you will be presented with all of the content presented in the interactive e-learning training. Though the audio narration may request that you select items or buttons on the screen, please pause the video to read the content and then select play to continue with the video. When the video advances to a knowledge check, please pause the video and try to answer the question in your head. Select play to see the correct answer or answers to the question.
We're going to just basically look at 3 different ARM types. And then as part of the demo, we're going to show you how we import one of the pool types that we talk about. First one we have on the screen here is about MAR, identified as a 5-year ARM. These are multiple pools. Of course, they go into the loan package just the same way with a 1.5 interest rate cap. The first interest adjustable rate for each mortgage must occur with at least 60 months, but not more than 66 months after the first payment date on the mortgage. And the first interest adjustable date for the security must occur 61 to 63 months from the issue date. So we kind of give you a little layout there, the 5-year ARMs, that's the MAF pool type. Securities issued on the first day, January, February, and March, the time you can issue those pools, shall have initial interest adjustable 61, 62, and 63 months after on April 1st. Shall have annual security interest adjustable thereafter on April 1st, and shall always make adjustable interest payment date security holders on May 20th. Payment is always done on the 20th for the Ginnie Mae 2. So that's the MAF if you decide to do a 5-year hybrid ARM pool. Then we have the MAR, identified as the 1-year ARM, and that's the one that, if you've been in the program for a long time in the Ginnie Mae space, that's the one that was the more popular one back in the days before all those housing stuff happens. The MARs, I've seen a couple, but not that much anymore, but we just wanted to make sure we're in a new space now, SFPDM. If somehow you decide to do that, you have the ability to do it in the SFPDM space. The 1-year ARM multiple pool or loan package, the first interest adjustable rate for each mortgage must occur at least 12 months, but not more than 18 months after the first payment date of the mortgage. The first interest adjustable date for these securities must occur 13 to 15 months from the issue month. So they have the AR pool type, mortgage-backed security interests issued on the first day of the month, January, February, March, shall have an initial interest adjustable at least 12 months, but no more than 18 months after the first payment date. So that would be April, and shall have annual interest adjustable thereafter on April, and shall always have the payment 1 month after the interest adjustable. That would be on May 1st. So you just want to make sure you're following this type of schedule if you're going to do it. The MAR, the MAF, and we have the MAT, that's the 3-year ARM. So it's hybrid ARM. The first interest adjustable date for each mortgage must occur at least 36 months, but not more than 42 months after the first payment date of the mortgage. And the first interest adjustable date for the security must be between 37 to 39 months after the issue date. You'll have to know, does this pool meet that criteria to go into our MAT pool? You have to make sure you're following those guidelines that you can find in the Ginnie Mae guide itself.
Now, try this knowledge check.
So I just want to give you some prerequisites. You're getting your pools together, get your loans together. You want to make sure you have certain things. You want to ensure there are assigned pool numbers. You have to get those pool numbers. You have to request your pool numbers. So those pool numbers can link to your issuer number. You want to check your availability of pool numbers on the request pool numbers screen. Ensure there's adequate commitment authority. Very important. You're issuing pools like for $1 million and you have commitment authority in for 500. Actually, you're going to be able to put the pool in SFPDM, but once that pool comes in and go through the process and get ready to be logged, it's going to fail right there because it's going to say you have insufficient fund. So if you're familiar with this, you'll get a call from your account executive say you need to send a wire to make up if you're going to issue that pool. And also you want to take in mind, if you do have insufficient fund, this could affect your delivery because most likely you're promised the investor, I'm going to make the delivery on such and such date. If you didn't look at those things to make sure they're okay, that pool could be delayed because of insufficient fund. You might not be able to meet your agreement on that day. The pool will not be able to be delivered because of insufficient fund. Could take a couple of days to get that going. So check on those things. Commitment authority, very important. And of course, your master agreements must have master agreement, complete up-to-date master agreements on file. You know, we're in a new year. Last year, we embarked on the renewal. The renewals usually start around October 1st and finish around December 31st. So make sure you have your up-to-date master agreements. If you have to change out a P&I or your T&I account, make sure you do that. Because if you don't have updated master agreements, when you try to set up your pools, you're only going to have master agreements for previous years, and that you're going to get a flag on that saying the master agreements are not up to date. You need to make sure you have the correct master agreements when you're issuing these pools. And if you have different accounts for maybe your Ginnie Mae 1s or Ginnie Mae 2, make sure you're selecting the right accounts, the right P&I, T&I accounts when you're setting up your pools. So check your master agreement. Even if it's not you, you might not do that because you handle more of the initial pools, but it might be another area that does that. If a master agreement P&I account change, make sure they do the updates so you can have the correct information in the pool. And of course, you have to complete your Form 11708. That's the ACH debit authorization form. Make sure all those things are in place before you want to start doing your pool. So check your pool numbers. Make sure those pool numbers are assigned to you. Commitment authority. Make sure you have enough money to issue the pools you have designated for issuance. Master agreement. Make sure you have your complete master agreements for this year. And again, renewals start October 1st. Make sure you jump on that as soon as possible when that time comes around so you're good to go and you don't wait. I always say when I'm doing these sessions, never wait until the last day of the month of the year to do your master agreements. That's when you're going to get into trouble. You can't find the people who are authorized to submit. So you just want to make sure you do that as soon as possible. So those are just some of the prerequisites you want you to look at.
Now, check your understanding.
If you look at number 1, it talks about pool submission. That, of course, that's you, the issuer, who's going to set up those pools and submit them to your custodian. So 1, the issuer sets up the pool and submit to the custodian. Number 2, initial certification. The custodian goes in and retrieve the information, review the data that comes in through SFPDM and compare that with the information they have on those pools or the mortgage. And if they're okay, they can do their certification. If they're not, then they're obligated to actually send that pool back to the issuer saying they have rejected the pool because information are not the same. So you have the ability to retrieve that rejection, go in, make the changes, and resubmit the pool. So the first piece, of course, is the issuer. The second piece is the custodian with the initial certification. And of course, the custodian is still going to certify their pool as of now in the GinnieNET space. There's no PDM as of now for the custodian, so they're still certifying these pools in GinnieNET. Although you're using SFPDM, they're still retrieving and certifying on the pool in GinnieNet. And of course, we have the daily sweep. We sweep the network twice a day. Anything that marks certified, we go out there and we bring that down. We put that on the Ginnie Mae IPMS. We run through edit checks again just to make sure everything are okay. If everything is fine, we also know the pools that are created for settlement, and that information is also sent over to the Fed, and we release at 4 o'clock every day. And this is just the sweep, what happens. The SFPDM network is swept twice each business day for processing and issuance of pools certified by the document custodian. We do a 2 p.m. sweep. Again, anything that's marked certified, we will go out and download that. But issuers, there are times when you might also need something to be deleted. And just remember, you can actually delete a pool that has been submitted and that has been certified by the custodian up to 12 noon the next day. And I'm saying delete it, and I should try and change that because we're now in the SFPDM world. We don't use the word delete to do a network. We use the word recall. So we can recall that pool now if it's in a certified state, but up to 12 noon. If you still want to make changes to that pool, but it's after 12, we usually recommend you to send us an email at genmay1@bnymellon.com and tell us you'd like to recall that pool. Once you give us that email, we have to go in our pools that we have scheduled for release and put a mark that we won't have to send that pool to the Fed. If you call after 4 p.m., well, that pool might have already been issued and sent over to the Fed for delivery. So be careful. We'll do the recall and send a request back to you, telling you via email that the pool has been recalled. After 4 p.m., it's going to be too late because that file has been released. We call it released on our side and prepared and sent off to the Fed for delivery. Then we have 9 p.m. sweep. So anything that did not happen, anything that happened after 2 p.m. up until 9 p.m., we do another sweep. And those pools are a part of our package for the next day. Since those are next day, those are considered 2-day delivery. Anything between now, we're going to sweep up to 9 o'clock. That comes in tomorrow. So that's not going to get a delivery for Monday. Those pools can be delivered on Tuesday going forward. But anything that was swept today before 2 o'clock can have a delivery date for tomorrow, if that's your delivery date. If your issue date, the delivery date is on the 21st, the 27th of 29th of May, then the Fed will make the delivery at that time. But our obligation with Ginnie Mae, anything that we get in today must go out tomorrow. Not necessarily delivered. The Fed won't deliver until the specified delivery date on your 11705 form. So we logged into the system and we went straight into SFPDM maintenance. You want to make sure you have your custodian information set up there. So that's what we're looking at now. Custodian information is information that comes from, of course, from your master agreement. Then you want to check on your FRB subscriber. This information, you would have to go in and enter the information. And again, this is a little bit different from what you're used to in the GinnieNet space. So you have to make sure you put in the information in the correct spot. That's some pain point we're having on this for now. We're trying to deal with it. After we do our FRB subscriber, then we want to check to make sure our master agreement ACH information is also entered in. And this information does come from when you set up the information in MAMS. So that's some of the things you want to look at your SFPDM maintenance screen before you start doing the pool. Now let's try and go to SFPDM pools and loans screen. And mostly if you're using SFPDM right now, you're familiar with this screen. We're going to go to the area that says advanced filter. And we're going to look at some of the filters. Here we're going to choose pool class, and we're going to choose Ginnie Mae 2. And since we're talking about arms, those are some of the arms that the arm pool that you can actually do the process in on SFPDM. So we're just giving you an area if you want to just have a look at that, and you can then apply the filters and see what comes up. And we just have just a 3-year arm information comes up there. And up the top of that screen, I'm sure it tells you we're going to add a loan. And then you have 2 ways of adding loan. You can enter manually, and you can also import a zip file, which of course is the XML format. And most likely you would have that file somewhere out there on your drive. You're going to bring that in. After you have identified the file, click on open. And you have the ability to validate your business rules right there and then. We're going to do that. And if you somehow had a pool in there, you can also have that information overridden. So pool upload is in progress. Just want to make sure you see these things. You notice right away there's some notification that came up on the screen about these pools. We're going to check those notifications, go to the mailbox. We're going to open to see what happens there. The first one says, pools validate successfully, validation fail, which is we expected. Because that's something I asked them to put in so we could try and see if we can clear up an error message. So let's go on and view the pool itself. And just remember, we're in a test and error environment, so sometimes the thing goes a little bit slow. That's the error message that we have there. We're going to look at that a little bit later. Let's go to the legacy name. The reason why I bring this up, because we know we're all GinnieNET users and we're used to the GinnieNET terms, but there are also MISMO terms that we are going to see a lot in the SFPDM space, like pool identifier. We know that as a pool number. So we just have to get used to some of these terms. This listing is found right there on the pool details screen. So if you want to keep it there, if you want to print it and put it down somewhere so you can find it, it's called legacy name. So I would suggest you check on those just to be familiar with the new terms that we're using in the SFPDM space. Now, this is the pool that we entered or we imported. We just want to give you an idea what the information looks like when it comes in. There we have the pool identifier, the index type, the issue date, the suffix identifier, the amortization type, the class type, and the structure type. And just one of the cool features of SFPDM, you can actually collapse so you don't have to have the information all over the screen all the time. And then it gives you the party section. I always like this thing because I'm like, isn't that nice? We're at work and we still can have party. So there we have a party section, which consists of the issuer information and the custodian information and the servicer information. So that's all the stuff in the party. So we have the header, the party, and then we get to the general information on the pool detail. Of course, the validated status is not passed. We haven't done that yet. Then we have the submission, the rate of the pool, the principal balance amount, the count, the guarantee. I think I'm going a little bit too fast. The current principal balance amount. Then we have the current loan amount, loan count, the guarantee fee percentage, which of course is always 6%. Then we'll go down more for see that trade date, trade book entry date. You know, on GinnieNET, you're used to the delivery date. That's what that is. You have the maturity date. You have the pool EIN. Of course, this is an M pool, so you don't need an EIN there. The EINs are needed at the end of the year for that. Then we have the ARM information. Of course, if we're doing an X pool, you would not have had this there. So it's a 45 days according to the information we looked at earlier. We have the interest adjustable rate effective date that comes up there. And I have the pool mortgage margin that's you determine, that's 2.5%. Now the master agreement. Master agreement information, that's all the stuff that comes from MAMS. So you can actually select the ones that you're using for that particular pool. If this is the information, then you can move on, but you can select more if you do have more there. And certification and an agreement, form 11711B. If you're an old schooler in GinnieNet, you realize that this form was by itself. So we kind of make it a little bit more intuitive for you, so you don't have to go from screen to screen. So the certification and agreement form is now on the pool detail screen. So that will make it a little bit easier for you in doing that. And also the subscriber information. You don't have a separate screen for that now. It's also a part of the 11.7 pool detail screen, I should say. And of course, we have the summary information at the bottom, just like it was before on this. This is all the subscriber account information. All of that now is on the pool detail screen. This was by itself in the GinnieNet space, but we decided we should just make that one screen so users don't have to go in and out if they're doing their data entry, especially if you're doing your manual pools. And of course, this just give the pool stat of the information that was imported in the pool. Tell you the total amount, the FHA amount, VA amount, if it's a VA, USD, and give you the maximum interest rate. All of that information is on the stat of the pool, which currently we do have in GinnieNet. We decide to make sure it's a part here. Okay, we have one loan in this pool. So we want to also check on the loan. There's a one loan, the loan ID. And I think that might have changed to loan number, I think we might have in the system. We're going to bring that in, open that loan. And up the top, there's just information on the pool that the system gathered just for your information. That's a little bit more information that we have in GinnieNet, and I think that will serve you well to get more information on the pool as you go along. So let's click on the loan. And there's loan information. First, we have first, previous, next, and last. And that was brought to us through the users who are doing the testing. So can we have it a little bit like GinnieNet, where we do for first, next, previous, and last? So we listened, and Jen may decide to add that in. Again, we want to mention to you the SFPDM legacy mapping, the naming conventions. They are a little bit different from what you currently have in GinnieNet. So use the time to actually get to understand them a little bit better when you're actually doing the pools. And again, we have the pool information. That piece was brought over from on the pool details itself. Again, you can collapse this page as you go along if you see fit to do it that way. And you bring up the general information on the loan itself. You have the current interest rate, the P&I payment amount, the UPB amount, the mortgage modification indicator, if that's necessary. You have the MOM indicator if the loan is a part of the MERS. Then you have the unique loan identifier, but of course that comes in after the pool is certified by the custodian. You have the pool issuer loan identifier. That's the loan number itself. And all the other information that goes along with the loan. It's separated differently in MFPDM just to make sure it's more manageable for you, so you can see how things are divided here. Premium and guarantee, all that information that deal with that space is there. Information about the ARM pool, all that stuff is separate by itself. There's all that, the floor rate, the mortgage margin, the first adjustment, the percentage there, the first adjustment, the subsequent adjustment if that's necessary, the floor rate, all that stuff is there. The property information is also there. Address, and if you had other information on the loan itself, if this is 2 unit, the LTV ratio, all that stuff is still there. It's just set up a little bit different in the SFPDM space, and of course the borrower information. And some of these data elements might be different to what you're used to in GinnieNET. So we want you to get used to them by using those legacy name fields. Credit score value, social security number is never shown. It's always secondary. If you have a secondary mortgagor, you put that information in. And now we have the close information on the loan. We have the maturity date, the period count, the period month, the note amount, the note date, and the scheduled first payment date. So that's a little bit, the structure is a little bit different, or it's set up in SFPDM, but it gives you the same information. Pool detail. Remember earlier we realized that we imported a pool, but we had an error. And let's see what that error message is. Latest last loan maturity date is not correct. Should fall on the same month and the year. So let's see what we have, and let's go in and make a change to that, because we want to send this pool off to the custodian as soon as possible. So let's find the maturity date, and let's update that maturity date. After it's been updated, let's save. And after we save, let's click on OK. And let's validate. Now that's a little bit different. We never did validate in GinnieNet. We did apply Ginnie Mae edits, but it means the same. So those are the things we want you to get used to when you're doing some of these tasks to actually get the pool to the next level. You notice we also had a notification came up, so we want to check on that because we want to make sure we're ready to go. The pool is good. Nice. We always want to see that pool successfully passed validation. And we're ready to submit. We go right there and submit the pool. Well, before we do that, let's check our docs. Let's print our 11705. It's generated. Let's open it and view it. Just take a look. Let's bring it up a little bit so we can see a little bit more of it. Yes. And basically the same information there. File transmission number is blank, of course, because we haven't submitted a pool yet. And all the necessary data information for that pool. You notice we highlighted the collateral type undetermined. That's a new field that have to do with digital loans or digital collateral. So we'll talk about that in another training. So that's 11705, the 11706. And I always encourage users, print your form after you submit. So you have that FTN number there as some form of trail that the pool was submitted. Right now it's blank because we just want to show you what it looks like in that state. You know, we're doing the collateral type because that's one of the new features that was actually added to the system during our April implementation. So that's 11705. 11706, that's what it is, not 11705 at all. And you know, in GinnieNet, we did say it's called reports. Here it's called docs, just to submit. No, we're good. Let's submit. To submit, we have to make sure we agree and to those Ginnie Mae disclaimer. We click on agree and then we can go ahead and do a submission. Click on OK. We will process your request and notify you via message notification of the outcome. Okay, we submit the pool. The pool is currently locked for submission to GinnieNet for initial certification. Yeah, unfortunately, we still use not unfortunate, that's the process right now. We still use GinnieNet to do a part of this process. So just want to let you know that you still have to go into GinnieNet and do a couple of things called attestation of the pool document. Now, because we see that where it says attest pool in GinnieNet, when we click on that, it takes us right into GinnieNet. Click on close, and it goes to the field where we need to attest the pool. So this pool was there, and we need to attest it before we can move on to do the cert, to send it off to the custodian. And we're testing that the information looks the same way when it came over from SFPDM into GinnieNet. So once we did the unselect, view selected, then we have the chance to view the forms. Here, you notice now the FTN number is on. So this is always a good time to print this form, or you can always wait until a custodian do their part on it. So this is 11706. We're testing to everything looks good on this form. So we're okay. We're gonna go back and do the same thing for the 11705. There's a form. Just want to make sure everything is good, because this is a part of the process now. You submit to GinnieNet to do that attestation. Of course, most likely when GinnieNet goes into the sunset, this piece will go away, but that we'll worry about that when we get to that part of it. So we're good to go. We want to proceed now to do the attestation, because we review the forms, and then we have all these other disclaimers. Make sure you read them, make sure they make sense to you, and then because you're telling Ginnie Mae that you agree with this, and you're going on to do the next level of the process, the pool. So once the attestation is in, you put in your GMAP ID. And put in the password. Once that's validated, then it asks you for your RSA token and your passcode, 4-digit and passcode. And of course, we wait for it, and then we submit a pool. And that's basically it.
Now, try this knowledge check.
Just some quick tips before we move on. Importing SFPDM pool. Imported pool will save time when creating large pools, but not all of us have that ability to actually do an import. That's why we still have the manual data entry for you. If your pools are small, it will allow you to go in and do them manually. But if you do have large pools, you want to start building that XML file. If you're not doing it internally, make sure you get with a vendor who is experienced in this and can help and guide you to build that XML file. Because remember, no more flat files. No more flat files in the SFPDM space. It's now XML. So everything that's coming into SFPDM is have to be in that format now, unless you're going to do the pools in a manual form. Multiple pools on their profile. Make sure to select the correct issuer number when pooling if the account has multiple organizations. Very important to do that, because you might be set up in my Ginnie Mae space with more than one issuer number. Make sure you're selecting the correct information when you're doing that. Next one, advanced filter, are useful when trying to search for specific pools. So you want to try and use those advanced filters. I would suggest not every one of those filters might work for you. You play with them and see which one works best during my work session. One of them for me, I like to use when we were testing, is make my pools favorite. So you go in and click on pools favorite. So anything that has a little star, those pools will show up because those are the pools you're currently working on. So you can play with those advanced filters to make sure it works to your advantage. And I just want to mention again about make sure you have sufficient commitment before issuing a pool. Very important. Important for you and important for the promises that you made to the investor. Because if the pool have insufficient fund, it delays delivery of that pool and you might miss that commitment date to have that security delivered to the investor. So be careful on that. Skills, of course, are those things up top that we never had in GinnieNet to tell you the status of the pool, to tell if the pool is certified by the custodian, if the pool is issued. Those things are new. And I know that's going to help you. And we have the pit pool. You are now able to accept tie pools on the dashboard. That wasn't there now. So if you're a pit pool or a tie pool participant, you can also do your pit pools via SFPDM. Just to tell you something on pit pools. If you currently do your pools in GinnieNet, continue doing the acceptance of pit pools in GinnieNet. If you start doing them in SFPDM, that's where you should do the acceptance of the pools. And also in reference to final certification. If your pools are SFPDM, you're going to do the final certification in SFPDM. If you currently have pools in GinnieNet that have not been finalized, but of course you won't be able to do them in SFPDM, you will continue doing them in GinnieNet until GinnieNet goes away. Of course, there'll be another area for you to go to do those. Oh, just some resources and support. Don't forget, I always call it Ginnie Mae MBS Guide My Bible because it tells me everything that I need to know about pool processing. You don't want to miss it out. And since we were doing ARM pool, I think it's chapter 26 in the Ginnie Mae guide that deal with ARM pools. So if you want to check that out specifically to just get more on the policy side and what's needed, you can check out that chapter 26. And of course, the SFPDM user manual, you want to make sure you check on that if you're not clear on what certain fields or what the screens will do. We kind of give that layout in the user manual. And you can't forget the QRCs. Those are the short version of the user manual. How to add a pool, how to import a pool, how to submit a pool. We have QRCs on those. And of course, don't forget the Ginnie Mae customer support group, the 1-833-466-2435, option 1. That's a group that I manage with that team on that side. And of course, you can send us emails also to our generic or mailbox. You don't have to send it to a specific person because that mailbox, all the representative on the hotline have access to that Ginnie Mae 1@BNY Mellon mailbox.
Now, check your understanding.